In this video, we will set up a stock market tracker so that we can watch our favorite stocks and have those stocks update every 5 minutes. First, I'm going to click in B4 and enter some ticker symbols. So let's add Amazon and Nvidia and maybe Google. And notice that when I enter my third ticker, I get a little button here that says convert to stocks. And I could go ahead and press that, and that would turn these into stock types, which is what we want. But I also want to show you how to do that through the menu. Let's add one more, and then we'll move on from there and do it using the menu. So let's add Apple, AAPL. And now I'm going to select all of those guys and go to the Data tab. And then under Data Types, I'm going to click the Convert to Stocks icon. Let's get the width of column B to match the information that's there. So I'll move up between B and C and double click, and that gives us a good column width. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some headers. So this is our company that we're looking at, and let's get the price, and we'll get the open, and then we'll get the change for today so far, and then we'll add the PE. So that looks good. To actually get the data from the stock ticker, I'm going to click on Amazon, and notice that when I click on Amazon, I get this little icon, which if I hover over it, it says Insert Data. I'll click that, and it gives me a list of data elements that I can choose from for that particular stock. I'm going to choose Price, and it brings the current price in. I can also do Open the same way, but I want to show you that you can access the data that's in the ticker or the stock data element by just using a formula. So I can say equal to, I can click on B4, and as soon as I click on B4, I get this pull down with, again, elements that I can access from the stock ticker. So I'm going to go down to the open and choose the open, and then hit enter, and that works the same way. So whichever one is easier for you will work out fine. The change would be equal to the current price minus the open. And then let's get the PE. So I can go back to Amazon, click my ad, and then I'm going to look for the PE and click it, and it's going to add it to the end of the columns I'm working with. That looks nice. To copy these down, I'm simply going to select them. I'm going to hover over the fill handle until my cursor changes, and then grab the fill handle and pull straight down. So now we've got our stock tracker up and running, and it's giving us some interesting information. I want this to update every 5 minutes. If I click on Amazon and then right click, I can now choose data type and then refresh settings. When I do that, I get this sidebar, and on the sidebar you'll see that it has stocks, and it tells you when the last time was that it was refreshed. I can also click on that and make sure that automatically every 5 minutes is checked. I'll go ahead and close the sidebar. One of the problems with every 5 minutes is if I just build this little spreadsheet and I slide it off to the side, and I just want to kind of keep an eye on it during the day and watch my stocks, and if I'm not clicked in, or if the Excel spreadsheet doesn't have the focus, then basically these things are not going to update even if 5 minutes passes. So what I'd like to do is get a macro going that would automatically refresh them if I click a button. To create a macro, you will have to have your developer tab activated. If your developer tab is not currently activated, check out my videos for either Mac or PC on how to do that. Let's go ahead and build a macro. I'm going to click on the Developer tab, and then I will click Record Macro. I'm going to give my macro a name. I'm going to call it refresh _ stocks. Note that you cannot have spaces in your macro names. I am not going to give it a shortcut key, and I will say OK. I am now recording, so every keystroke that I make, every mouse click that I make will be part of my macro. This macro is really quite simple. I'm going to click Data, and then I'm going to click refresh all. Notice that updated my stocks when I did it. That is the end of my macro. So now I can just go back to Developer tab and then choose Stop Recording. Let's create a button and attach the macro to it. I'm going to go to the Insert tab. I'm going to choose a shape. I like this rounded rectangle, so I'll choose it and draw a rounded rectangle. And then once it comes in, I can type on it. So update stocks. Let's shrink the size a little bit. That looks good. And then I like, if I'm still in my shape format section of the toolbar, I like pulling down the theme styles, and I'm going to choose a different color. Let's go with green. And I like this intense effect right there, which adds a little bit of a drop shadow and a little bit of a beveled look to my button. So there's my button. Now right now it doesn't do anything, so I'm going to click on it, right click, and choose Assign Macro. And then I'll choose the macro I want to assign and say OK. At this point, whenever I click this button, it should update all of my stocks. There's one more thing I need to do. Because I have a macro in this workbook, I now need to save the workbook as a macro-enabled workbook. So I'll click File, Save As, and then at the top I can pull this down and choose Macro-Enabled Workbook, and I can go ahead and browse to wherever I want to put it, but making sure that I'm saving it as a macro-enabled workbook so that the macros will reload when I want to reopen my stock ticker spreadsheet. I'm going to go ahead and name this stocks, and I'll press save.